Before I truly begin this biased, abridged review of Cold Steel 3, I want to say a few things. I did not play, read, watch any of the side material, the prerequisite material that would have helped me understand more fully the events that happened in this game. That said, it also didn't matter as much as I thought it would. I was told to do it for clarity's sake, but it honestly didn't detract from the game extensively, like, if at all. Most of the time, there's an immediate explanation of what just transpired anyway, or at least one does happen at some point. The SSS, the game goes heavily into that group. In fact, there was a section in 2 where you played as Lloyd and Risha for a sizable section before the true final dungeon. The Gralsritter and the Partitioner stuff, the game goes into that early on and continually. The Northern War, the game gives damn near constant flashbacks and dialogue on that between Reen, Aurelia, Altina, Sarah, and even Yuna. So does that extra stuff help? Yes. Yes, it does. But I wouldn't call it necessary, though. You know what is necessary? Probably me having a drink to get through some of this. Oh my god. Saying Cold Steel 3 is a long game is an understatement. I know I mentioned playtimes in my last videos, but I want to clarify. They were both hovering around 65-ish hours apiece. I remember saying 75 for Cold Steel 2, but that was incorrect, and I think I did show a picture of that. Cold Steel 3, though, genuinely took me 109 hours and 20-something odd minutes, give or take. Now, this could be chalked up to me actively trying to do as many side quests as I could because they're labeled way better this time around, and most events too. But that doesn't stop me from thinking this game is just bloated as frick, man. I tried doing all side quests, missed some, I'm sure. Tried getting as many note entries as I could, since there's rewards now for doing that. I tried getting every single monster entry I could. I did all the fishing I could. I got 24 out of 25 of the fishies, and you know what? That last fishy can skedaddle for all I care. It wasn't difficult to do the fishing. Hell, it's actually lucrative to do so at certain points. You get a lot of good rewards. I just can't bring myself to truly care about fishing in any game. Alright, I failed to mention this till now. There's card games in this series. Cold Steel 1 and 2 had what's called Blade 1 and 2, and Blade is just pure RNG as far as I care to engage with it, but I did it for the free bond points here and there. Literally didn't notice Blade 2 was a thing till near end of 2, to be honest. Oops. I am also not a big fan of card games, unless... So they added to Cold 3 a game called Vantage Masters, which plays a lot like Magic the Gathering or a Hearthstone knockoff kind of game, which relies more readily on skill, so I dabbled in it and fought everyone in it. I got a Master Quartz I didn't care for, but hey, it had a tangible reward and it was actually kind of fun. There is so much in this game. Oh my good lord, there's a lot. You still play as Reen. It's been a year or so after Cold Steel 2, and he's a teacher now, and we'll get into that, but he looks older, and everything looks nifty. Oh, I really wanted to like this game. I really, truly want to impart that. I went in head held high, and if I thought Cold Steel 2 was a roller coaster, this game is just... How do I put this? It's a really long road trip that I keep getting lost in, but at least there's a rest stop every so often. It's not a good analogy, but there is a lot of good in this game, but Christ, there's also a lot of bad dragging it down, and I plan on going through it. But yes, this is through the lens of an incredibly biased person, and I will probably gloss over a lot of stuff and forget some stuff, but this isn't new. Also, this game is so gosh darn massive, so I'm gonna miss something. With all of that said, I'm gonna step right into this now. And god, what a doozy of a first step. So, the story to Cold Steel 3 is a mega, ultra slow burn. But they also decided, in their infinite wisdom, to basically rehash one setup and formula for better and worse. Like, no, for real, they really did. I don't think I went over it really, since I glossed over stuff, but the first game opens up in medias res. There's a military base under attack by terrorists, and you take a bunch of random characters, we don't know who they are at the start, and start running towards an objective to stop the bad guys. The section ends with a mini boss fight and a cutscene that cuts out in the middle of it, and then suddenly a fade to black, and then the calendar zooming back many months to the start of the school year when the game starts. I'll give you one guess as to what you think happens in Cold Steel 3. Actually, no, I'm not even gonna give you that guess. In Cold Steel 3, you start off in medias res with a bunch of random characters that we don't know yet, and we have to rush towards an objective that we fight a mini-boss, which afterwards we go to a cutscene and fade to black, and a calendar comes up, and you get the picture. It's literally the goddamn same. And this trend continues. The mysterious old schoolhouse from 1, we have the Einhell Keep in 3. Field exercises, they're back in 3, baby. The biggest notable difference to this whole formula is that Reen is now a teacher at Thor's military branch campus. You're playing kinda sorta as underdogs, but you're also god-tier badasses when the game isn't saying your gameplay doesn't matter. Reen's the teacher, which means he's got, you guessed it, a bunch of students that he teaches this time around. Reen and these goobers will be our main protagonists for the most part. The game follows them going through their school stuffs at a military academy, and to say that stuff goes sideways all the time is also an understatement. You encounter more members of Ouroboros, including one that's just as touchy-feely as Angelica, or a soon-to-be-mentioned party member would like to be, and I hate her. You encounter a lot of villains and recurring characters from the entire series, not just Cold Steel. Crossbell especially, since there's an entire chapter dedicated to that place, but you also get to see some more liberal characters. To gloss over a lot of stuff, basically everywhere you go, Ouroboros is trying to experiment on stuff. A third faction called the Gnomes comes in. They've been mentioned in Cold Steel 2. They've kinda like made the Divine Knights and shit. All hell breaks loose as you accidentally murder a dragon that unleashes a set apocalypse, and also Osborn is back. Did I forget to mention he was shot and killed in Cold Steel 1, but somehow Osborn returned? Oh, and Crow is back from the dead, who shot and killed Osborn. Oh right, did I forget to mention that he got stabbed in the goddamn chest and it was actually pseudo-graphic for a T-rated game? Somehow Crow has returned, and he's under the Gnomes faction, and oh my god, what is going on? Jesus Christ! The sadly most ludicrous part about this is I know I'm glossing over info, but there's just so much going on in this series. It's so content heavy. Oh my god! Let's move on. So there's actually quite a lot of new faces in this game, and of course a ton of returning ones. But the new faces worth mentioning are Kurt Vander, Una Crawford, Altina, Ash Carbide, and Muse Egret. These will be our new students for this game. Kurt is studious and as straight of an arrow as one can shoot. As such, he's boring but not strictly offensive. I don't mind him too much. They try and do stuff with him. He has a bit of an inferiority complex with his swordplay compared to his other family members who are much more brawn compared to his more agile, lean build. They beat you over the head with this, but honestly, not a single time did it land with me because it only portrayed him as really whiny and insecure as opposed to actually overcoming anything. He just eventually is okay with his lot in life as opposed to coming to a real realization. And there's something to be said for that, which is why I also say he's just boring. There's not much going on there. Next up is Yuna. I wanted to like her. She's got a cute design, she's got tonfas. Problem is, she's kind of bipolar in execution. She's supposed to be like comedic at times with her frustration, but it's supposed to like display her conflicting nature, which does get some good coverage later, but it usually gets played as Yuna is a bitch and everyone agrees even though Reen has done nothing wrong in 99% of the situations, but it's okay to talk down to your own instructor and be a rude piece of trash because you don't know how to express your feelings. And it's really annoying because the game does acknowledge the fact that Reen is a teacher. These are his students. He does try to reprimand and guide and teach them, but whenever he does this, it never sticks, and they just move on being rambunctious, capricious little shits, and it's annoying. Let's move on over to Altina, who is genuinely a good character. Oh god, right. Remember how I said I really couldn't care about the villains in any of these games? Altina is an exception. She was a villain in 2, but she was boring as all get out. In this game, she's a student, and due to events leading up to and beyond, she's basically learning how to emote and feel human, and it's genuinely heartfelt and done well. There are annoying moments, to be sure, but the game treats her character development really well. It's genuinely impressive. They treat it with real maturity. Speaking of maturity, or the complete opposite of it, we have Ash Carbide, who is a delinquent who loves being an asshole, but hear me out, he's actually a good dude at heart and has actual personality, unlike most Trails characters. Yeah, I said it. Frickin' fight me. Please don't actually fight me. I'm very fragile. And while Ash and Musei, the next character I'm going to talk about, do take a while to join, but like every student in this game, they will be around on the campus to talk to and actually have some bonding events with, etc. There's no avoiding talking about the last student I have to introduce, which is Musei, and the less I talk about her, the better. She is a legitimate problem. If I thought Angelica was a problem, Musei dials it up to 11. She is the kind of person who is likely to use a roofie on the first date kind of problem. And to say she is obsessed with Rin is probably one of the biggest understatements in a series of understatements I've made in this review so far. So, just like in 1 and 2, the characters, for me, are really hit or miss. Some are really good, some are obnoxious. The other NPC students are actually nifty and vary just as much. The returning cast gets varying degrees of better too. Emma gets a lot more to do in this one, for example. You'll get to see all of your previous classmates, which invites every interaction between the girls and Rin to be judged harshly by Yuna, and everyone agrees that Rin is a scumbag for having any relationships at all with women. I really hope you get used to that style of comedy, because this game does not let up on that. It thinks it's the funniest goddamn thing on the planet to horribly misinterpret any relationship between Rin and any girl. Oh yeah, and then Gaius gets a lot of new development, but it's almost entirely behind scenes and revealed at the end of the game. 109 hours. At least he gets something cool going on, I guess. But it is cool seeing all the faves return. It's fun getting to use them in scripted sequences. Also, this game is meant to be like the melting pot for a lot of the series' plot points at this point, I guess. Basically, you're getting a lot of crossover stuff. Agate, Tita, Randy, Tio coming in from Liberal and Crosswell was really fun, and I can't deny that. Oh no. No. Oh no. There was supposed to be more time. Oh, how do I talk about the writing? I've already said a lot on it with certain specifics and events and such, but like, the writing dips so hard sometimes. The writing goes really high sometimes too. I mentioned Altina. A lot of her scenes are really well written, and with how consistent it is throughout the game, it's a treat having her on screen and doing some bonding events with her. Seeing Ring go about his day as an instructor is kind of fun at times, but it does get gratuitous more often than not. But no, the biggest kicker I've encountered, the worst I've been encountering this entire goddamn series. Keep in mind, my memory isn't infallible, but I swear to God, there's so many scenes in boss fights that just end with the villains either going, guess you're not half bad, and decimating you, or just saying, we're just testing you. I just wanted to see you react to me letting you kick my ass. You know what? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just gonna say it. Once or twice, this is a fine plot device, given that there's decent execution on it. But doing it like multiple times per chapter against basically every single major villain just makes me not want to engage with the story and sometimes even the gameplay. I'm taking the time out of my day to boot the game up and engage in the game's gameplay, only to be told repeatedly that I ain't shit? As my good friend Jack, Stranger of Paradise, once said, bullshit. When I can easily stun like you're a goddamn paraplegic who has no business fighting the tactical genius of my team, why does the story just consistently act like a friggin' 8-year-old on the school playground and say the equivalent of, nuh-uh, I have a cape that makes me invulnerable actually, so all those attacks you did hit my cape, which means I didn't get hurt. It's unfortunate because they attempted to remedy some of this by putting in special battles where you get a bonus for taking an enemy down to 30% or 70% or whatever amount designated. The problem is, even with those, you sometimes just get shit on anyway. You just can't win 80% of the time. Yes, that's a random number I pulled out of my ass. It really is a shame because some of the writing in this is genuinely brilliant. Getting to watch characters like Sarah, Claire, and Aurelia, or Gaius, or Fee, or Ash unload their backstories and their feelings on screen kinda makes me give a shit. That's what I signed up for. And then almost every single goddamn time Muse opens her mouth, I am not joking, this is not a made up thing, she's usually just hitting on Rain. And not like, wow, or something innocuous and she's blushing or something, but sometimes she's very literally like, I want to tear your clothes off. She's 16 and his student, he's 20 and her teacher. He only sometimes shoots this line of dialogue down. If she were removed from the game, I would not shed a single tear. In fact, actually no, I lied. I would cry tears of joy, knowing what I know. You know what? I need to take a step back, and I want to be happy for a moment. I will very gladly move on to a much happier note, the music. See what I did there? From my point of view, the music in 3 is at its peak so far. Lots of good battle themes, great downtime themes, lots of heart and effort put into them that really makes it all shine brightly. The battle themes go damn hard, and the calm themes really set the mood and make you want to sip some tea, or maybe just think of cool ways to beat the crap out of your enemies. Whatever suits you. I really don't have too much to say here, as the music is trying its hardest to carry this production, and it almost does. That isn't to say it's failing at carrying at all, it's just that the music isn't the only one trying its hardest. You want to know what else is trying its hardest? The gameplay. The gameplay has shifted quite considerably. Well, that's not wholly accurate. The main core is still there. It's turn-based, you got HP, EP, 4-person party with 2 pairs, and a few backups. You got your arts and crafts, the spells, and character-specific abilities at your disposal. Now, the biggest game changers here to be noted are the introduction of a break system and the introduction of battle orders. The break system is really simple, but it is also the absolute king of this game's tactical execution. What this means is every enemy now has a break gauge in addition to their HP, and every attack hits both bars, which also means that every attack now has grades for its damage output and its break damage. When an enemy gets broken, they're defenseless, their turn is delayed a significant amount usually, and the biggest kicker is that every attack that can trigger an unbalance will unbalance the enemy. Usually. I don't know, it was kind of weird. There were some times when it wouldn't happen when I thought it should happen, but the general gist is, at the absolute least, it's almost 100% likely you're going to unbalance them. The BP system is still in effect here, so you can store up points easy when you break enemies. Generating high quantities of BP in a battle is really useful because you gotta use that BP to actually use your battle orders. What are battle orders? Every single character has a battle order they bring to the table, all of them doing wildly different effects, such as increasing break damage, granting critical chance, reducing cast time EP usage, etc., that last a certain number of turns in battle and each costing a different amount of BP. So yeah, BP now serves multiple purposes. They also gave the joint attacks you can do a big boost in break damage output, so there's still some use there. But 9 times out of 10, with the right setup, you're just gonna battle order to break something and then try and reduce your delay as much as possible while perma-delaying the enemy. It's honestly really freaking fun and has easily led to someone like me easily trouncing most fights. Finding ways to just sneak in some disgusting break damage, ooh boy! That's it, that's where it's at. It's also worth noting that they changed up a bunch of the quartz as well, mostly combining stuff like hit and crit chance, or tweaking numbers, or adding new and more interesting spells. Basically, just stuff to shake it up in an actually meaningful way. The bigger change, though, is that the past 2 games you were able to equip 1 Master Quartz that kinda defined your character's playstyle. Okay, saying kinda isn't really fair. It did really change your playstyle. However, in this game, you get to equip a second one. You get the full effect of the Master Quartz main ability, you get a portion of its stats added to you as well, and you get the full spell list from it. It's like a Final Fantasy job system even more now, and it's so good. The variety and silliness you can run now is great. Admittedly, I gravitated towards all of the break enhancing stuff, but even then it's great to know that there's some extreme variety going on. The only caveat to this system, and it's completely fair, is that you can only have one person equipping it as a main quartz and one person equipping it as a sub quartz. You can't have, like, everyone taking all of them kind of thing. If it wasn't obvious, anyway. I mean, if we're gonna talk about good improvements in this game, then I gotta hand it to the graphical department. So let's go talk about that for a moment. So this is the game that finally marks the jump to the new system, the PS4 era for this series. All the models are redone and everyone looks great in higher definition. Well, okay, there's a few odd ducks here and there that made the jump less gracefully, but it's genuinely the majority that just looks much better. The 2D art is still great, it's still very polished, so this is really only positives to talk about here. I think a very special mention needs to go to the team that worked on the user interface, because in this game, it looks so goddamn slick, and the way it controls, as opposed to like the other games where you like move a ring around in battle to like choose your options, in this, it's you press, D-pad to choose your options, and you press the face buttons to choose other options. And it looks so sleek and smooth and intuitive. It looks so good. I am genuinely gushing about this because that is the first thing I saw in the game when I got into battle, and I was squeeing. I was a child in a toy store. This looks so good. This also just extends to opening the camp menu. It looks so good and stylish. I can't stop gushing. They just did such a freaking good job. I can't stop. The game looks good, and it was a treat to jump into this game on a visual level. On that front, not only are the graphics better, but holy crap, did basically every returning player character get another glow up. Everyone looks so cool now. They're all grown up. Emma, Alyssa, Sarah, Eustace, Gaius, Machias, Laura, Fee, Elliot, Reen. I can't get enough of this. Good work to the freaking design teams. They knocked it out of the park. And that's where I do have to kind of bring this to an end. Otherwise, who knows how much longer I will go on. I think this game is a bipolar mess, kind of like me. I, as we've seen, do have a lot of good things to say about it, but I also just can't reconcile the poor pacing and the absurd length of the game when I didn't even do everything for a single playthrough. All that amazing music and the great gameplay additions don't mean much to me when I'm not feeling that my efforts are what's moving the story forward. There's so many times where I kinda just realized that if my characters just sat back and did nothing, there'd barely be a change to some events. Sure, it's not fair to say that it's completely useless, but goddamn does it make me feel that way. I maintain this is far and away not a bad game, but I think it does get another 5 out of 10. I could bump that up to a 6 if I'm being generous, but every single time I think of something good about the game, I remember, we're just testing you. It can't decide what the player should be doing, and it absolutely has a narrative it desperately wants to tell me. One that could be compelling, but it's mixed in with a game that barely intersects with it. And that's unfortunate, seeing as I admittedly do want to see more. I want to go on to play Cold Steel 4. But, as of recording this, Final Fantasy XVI is essentially just around the corner, and I don't think dividing my concentration between a lot of games is going to make for an entertaining experience for what I'd like to do, which is stream Cold Steel 4. I think it could be fun, but also incredibly long, but I can make things work. I think I'll do that instead of yet another video, for now anyway. I might do a video just to round out this whole project, and that's what this all started as, a project. On that note, with my near future plans laid out, I hope you all have a good day, and please leave whatever thoughts you've got down below. I've been trying to work on the actual presentation part of these videos a lot, and I'd like to think I'm making improvements, so any feedback is welcome. Take care.